Hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. So, my name is Mohammad Avis, and today we will be going to talk about how to consume generative AI in your Angular application. So, by the way, applause for us, and we have just released the Angular generative AI book. I have written that book with one of my two best colleagues. One is Sonu Kapoor from Canada, and one is Lars from Denmark. So we have written leverage Angular with Gen AI, and we have written down multiple practical recipes step by step in detail to consume Gemini latest Google AI models. And apart from that, we had also touched the REST API development, which had the power of generative AI. So we have consumed Gemini with Python so that you can develop your REST APIs in the power of generative AI. Apart from that, we also had a very detailed recipe for AWS Bedrock. AWS Bedrock is also an generative AI model released by Amazon Web Services. So we have tried to consume that step by step as well. So book is published on the Amazon, and you can take the link out from here. And let's get started. So today in this video, we will be going to take a look for how to make your web application, kind of a small web application, which can read health laboratory reports for you. Assume that you actually went to a laboratory and you have a CBC test, maybe a complete blood count test, and like until and unless you have to visit to your doctor. And for the first head, very specifically on the very like to satisfy yourself, you are positive, negative, or what extra things which like what exact hospitals, perfect hospital to diagnose that type of disease you have, or what kind of results in the report, you don't know because you don't have the background and domain knowledge of a doctor, right? So we have written that health report reader recipe, and which is corely connected generative AI with your Angular, and we will be going to take a look step by step how you can develop that kind of recipe for you. So let's get started. And okay, so here in the code base, the first thing which we gonna do is you need to initialize your Angular application, and then after there is a step called to generate your API key. So Gemini is the model developed by Google, and through which you can go and you can Google had provided multiple API leverages for, like, either you are doing it with Node.js, either you are doing with Python, blah blah blah, multiple technology stacks, right? So what we did is, like, we have consumed the npm module called generative AI, which is released by Google, so that you can consume in your JavaScript type of application. So here our thing is, like, we have integrated that with Angular, right? So with that, what you can go is, like, the first step should be go to your on AI Studio. It's a Google AI Studio through which you can generate your API key. So in my case, what we did is, like, we have I have created Cover AI U2B kind of applications already been available on my Google AI Studio. So apart from those, like, you can take your new API from clicking on this Get API key. Once you do it, so it will ask for your, like, project name, and, like, it will generate the API key for you. So this is the API key which I'm currently consuming in my application. So I will show you. So what I did is, like, in the Angular application in src folder, so, like, in the latest Angular versions, we don't have environment files, right? So what I did is, like, I created the environments directory, and inside that I have created one environment.ts file for now. So then inside it, what I did is, like, I have added my Gen AI API key here, which I have got from Google AI Studio. And then the second step was to build a, like, to install the npm package which you're gonna consume. So that package is at the rate google slash generative hyphen ai, right? So that Google generative AI is the package you need to, like, download. You need to install in your Angular application, by the way. So then after, what I did is, like, in generative AI, there is a generative model. So generative model is actually been a predefined model for, like it's a class from generative models API. So through which like you can define the type and etc. Like it's kind of a type which you can assign it to your model while like initializing your model, right? I will describe that it ahead. So in this service, what we did is like after that implementation, after that import, I have imported the environment file, right? So that environment file is for connecting your API key to your service. So in the next step, what we did is like in that service, I actually written down this kind of a detailed repository. I will share this out. So I will release those recipes and how we have developed those in our book as well. So here, what I did is like in generative AI service, we have created a read-only instance for like for defining for creating a new instance for your generative AI, right? So here, what I did is a read-only variable, and inside that, I have assigned it to your like kind of a new constructor named new Google Generative AI, and in that I have binded my environment key, right? So that environment key which we have created here, so I'm actually consuming it here. So then after, what I did is I created a kind of a communicate with Gemini function. So in this function, what we're going to do is like we need to, when you want to connect your Angular application to your Gen AI on the basis of text model to like connect with generative AI with a text prompt, text input. So then this ask Gemini function will be going to work for you. Then what I did is like inside the model, I created a model, and the model which we have, as I discussed above, generative model, which we have imported from generative AI. So what I'm doing here is I am assigning a type to my const model variable, right? So and after that, what I'm doing is like the generative AI, Gen AI read-only variable which I created above. So that's actually have the instance of my environment key. So what I'm doing is like Gen AI dot get generative model. So that's a predefined function from Gen AI npm module through which like you can call it and you can assign your model whatever you want to use. So in my case, I am actually using Gemini 1.5 Flash, which had a capability for text-based prompt and image-based prompt as well. So in my case, what I need to do is like I need to connect with Gen AI on the basis of image model. So that's why actually I imported that. So this function I have written down because it's a reusable service which we are consuming in multiple recipes. So I have written down this generic centralized function. So in that, after describing your model, so the next step what we did is like we have, what I'm doing is like the content variable I created, and inside that I'm waiting for the model. And for generate content, this is actually the function provided by method provided by generative AI npm module. So here you need to pass your prompt as input, and then whatever input you are passing, hey, how's the weather there in United States, and like, or maybe like, hey, which was the winner team of football in 2024. So these kind of text prompt, when you are sending to Gen AI, so on the basis of previous data, on the basis of previous availability they have, so that Gen AI model which you have defined, so it can give you the answer on the basis of that. So when the answer will be available, so then this function is async await. So async await in JavaScript means when you want to wait for some task to be accomplished, then you want to proceed ahead. In those cases, we are using async await. So here we are awaiting for our model to respond it against our text prompt. And the next function which we have created is on image prompt. So that on image prompt is like when you want to connect your application with the Gen AI model, and you want to pass the input params in terms of image format on in, or maybe in terms of image and text both. So in those cases, actually, you also need those kind of capable model. In our case, I have a Gemini 1.5 Flash as well. So the same method we have did, but one thing is changed here. So that thing is like we are passing two params now, because one is the prompt and one is image inline data. So image inline data is the format of data which we are changing in terms of, we have a helper function defined. I will also disclose that. So that inline function is doing what? It's getting the file from input, and it's been converting that to base 64, and after base 64 it's getting the image inline data as well. However, you can pass your base 64 as well. For my learning purposes, I did that. So same method here, we have a try catch block, and inside that what I have did is generative model type, which I have assigned to my model variable, and I have assigned this Gemini 1.5 flash model here. So, and ahead what we did is, like you can see, generate content, the same method we were consuming above. So in above we were just passing prompt, and here we are passing two things, prompt and image inline data. So these two things we are passing to that model so that it can respond perfectly. So on the next part now we have is called health report. This is called HTML file of a component. So here this is called what I consider type script file. So here you can see, like what I did is, like here the same service what I have created. So I'm injecting it, and I have created the read only variable called Gemini AI service, and I'm actually consuming Gemini Google AI service here, which we have created. I showed you just now. So, and apart from those also, like there's the image helper service which I created to convert that file to base 64. So this is that service, and there is called a loading service as well, through which like the application is, like once that data and image passed, prompt and image passed to Gen AI, and it wait for some manipulation and responding. So until loading will be there. So it's kind of a loading service I have created for that. So this is a function called on file change, and in this file change method, so this is very normal. So what I'm doing here is I'm getting input from input from user, so that's a file, and I'm getting that file, and what I'm doing is like get base 64 image here. So when I'm doing that base 64 image, so it's actually been converting that file to base 64. So this base 64 I have used it for, like to show the image on user interface. I will show you the demo application as well. And apart from that, I'm also doing like what I'm doing is, like I'm generating the image inline data format so that I can share my image to what I can say, the Gemini. So in that, I have also that function called file to generative part, and I'm passing that file, and again it's actually been showing that part. So if I can show you the like interface of iVision AI, this is actually the image part. So inline data is actually been coming. So what inline data has kind of a base 64, and it's kind of a meme type. So this is what it's been doing. So these are actually the generative functions. So like kind of helper functions. One is file to generative AI, and other one is base 64. These are the helper functions which I have created to manipulate the image and to pass that to generative AI. So these are like these two you can also create it, or maybe like the GitHub repo you can find it out. Okay, and apart from those, like once you have your prompt ready, once you have your image ready, now the task is to connect with your Gen AI model. So now here, when this button will be going to hit, so what it does is it's initializing the loading service so that it like loading will be going here. I know this is not a best practice, but what we can do is like we can create the loader interceptor here as well. So when the request will be hitting to the server, or maybe kind of REST API or whatever, so automatically loading will be going to start, and once that finished, loading will be finished. But for the instance, I have created this loading toggle for understanding, and what like for the newbies, like to understand how this mechanism works. So that's what actually I put it this loading service here. Okay, so now what I've created is like Gemini AI service, which I have initialized above. So what I'm doing is like I'm calling that, and I'm consuming that function of on image prompt, which we have discussed. So here I need to pass a prompt and image inline data. So I'm passing this text here. So if you can read it out, this is a detailed prompt, like analyze the provided health report of a patient and give feedback on disease and some first aid treatment. Also provide best hospital to consult with doctor category, right? So this is actually the prompt which I am sending to Gen AI. And apart from that, I'm also passing the image inline data, which I have converted once the user have input the file. So once that is done, so that's because this on image prompt is a promise based function, so it will return a promise. So what I did is like dot then inside that the result which I'm getting, so I'm rendering it on the screen. So this is the result variable which I have created above, right? So now in the HTML, so it's very straightforward. So this is the image src through which like you can what I did is like when I'm uploading an image from here on file change, so it's been converting that image, and I have an image variable in my TypeScript file. So once that image is being converted to base64, so that image have the base64 and it will be appearing on the screen. So once that image is uploaded, so then on the click of analyze report, analyze laboratory report, so what it will be doing is it will be going to connect Angular with your Gen AI through our service what we have created. So that's a very cool recipe, and let me show you the demo how it works. Okay, so this is a very cool recipe called Health Laboratory Report using Vision AI API, Google AI. So here you can see there's like button is disabled because until the image is selected, so this button will be going to disable. So once you have clicked on it, so there is a laboratory report. So if I clicked on it, so you guys can also see. So this is the report of F Labs, kind of a sample report which I took from Google. So what you can do is like after uploading that now, so once we have uploaded, that process is actually being done. So that process is being consumed with two parts. One is to convert that image to base64, and we are looking into our screen. So this is a base64. So another one is like converting that toward image inline data, which we can also call as base64. So that's I am actually been looking into it. So that is actually the image. So now the prompt is being automatically hard coded. So what we have written on our component. So now the thing is you will be going to click on analyze laboratory report. So now this part is like that's the loading service which had behavior subject which is being called as true. So now once the results from Gemini will be here, so then this will be going to vanish and the result will be going to appear on your screens. I don't know why it's taking too much long. Let's upload it again and analyze laboratory report. So if I'm going into network, if I'm going into fetch, so you can see Gemini 1.5 is, it says 503 service unavailable. Okay, so service unavailable means that I need to use any other API key. So if I can go into the VS Code here, and in my environment file, if I can do Control Z. Okay, so this is the API which I need to copy. Now here, I need to revert this one. Okay, so now this is saved. Now we can also again go into our application, refresh it. So now when we upload the result now, let's check it out. Maybe my instance is actually being finished out. So that's what it says, you cannot check, or maybe service unavailable. So once we have the results, so results will be on the screen. You can see here now, so this is finished, right? So let me close out this so that you can understand. Okay, I didn't by the way, I didn't formatted the response what we got from Gen AI. So I didn't formatted that because it's kind of a recipe to give you understanding and all those stuff. So it's a very detailed report. So I will be planning to write a helper function for it, so that that helper function will be going to understand the statistics for that text what we have, and it will be going to format in kind of a cool way, like header tag and text, like multiple selections for like, okay, these are the result, these are the clauses which we are actually been not following. So this is what, so if you can read it out, like the provided blood report shows several abnormalities that warrant immediate medical attention. Number one, the patient, a 20-year-old male, represent with abnormal findings, low hemoglobin, this is below reference range, blah blah blah. So all those stuff it will be going to give you. So that's the power of generative AI. So that's a bit about our cool recipe, and which is also enclosed in our book step by step. So in the code base, if I can show you, so these are actually the, I can repeat again. So one is to get your API key, and that API key you will be going to get from your Google API, Google AI Studio. So apart from that, the second step will be going to initialize that in your environment file, And the third one is to create your service, and that service have a function called on image prompt or maybe the text based model to connect your model with your Angular application. Then the fourth step is to your like consuming that service inside your component and to write a helper function through which you can convert your image to base 64 and consume that service method which we have written here, so that pass your hard coded prompt or maybe user taken prompt and the image so that it will give you the best optimal results. So step 5 should be like adding your input elements like to upload the image, to render the image, and to show the response what we got from Google AI. So that's it about the cool recipe of health report reader till now. So this recipe is defined step by step in our book called Leverage Artificial Intelligence with Angular. So that's a very cool book, and we will release it, and you can find it from this link. Thank you so much, and stay tuned for the next recipe. Bye bye.